MVP.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes. Harper, the swing of his life.
We never get ahead of himself. As
I know Rennie do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that wrench do, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 125. Al Ryan, Chris Guest, and myself, Adam Seltzer, along with you tonight. And we got a question quickly for you fans out there. If you're in the chat, let us know in the chat. If you're reaching out to us or listening, on the audio version later on, choose a text. We're going to keep the names out to protect the innocent. If your kid shits in the tub, do you bleach the tub immediately afterwards? Yes or no? Let us know.
Yeah, nothing to think about it. Take your time. Think about this one, guys. All right.
Now, asking for a friend, does it matter if it's immediate or as long as before the next use?
No, this isn't the 5-second rule, guys. This isn't like if you're dropping M&M.
Well, if that's the case, we've already my friend has already missed their moment.
If a poop floats in the water, does it affect the outside layer of the tub?
Yeah, man. Come on. The whole tub is gone. Like,
listen. Well, first of all, to be fair, that tub we've only had that tub in use once prior to the children. We normally use our own shower in our bathroom, the stand up shower.
Oh, you have a stand up shower and a tub.
Yeah. So the one bathroom has a tub, the one has a stand up. So we never used the tub, but the girls now use it. Or my friends' daughters use it. So, but at this point, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying that when my friend had kids that pooped in the tub at one point in their life, it always was bleached. I mean, look what Lil Ern in the chat. I'm bleaching it 5 times before I'm using it again.
Yeah, so to be fair, Ern, I'm not going to be using it at all. But for their sake, you're probably right. Listen, rookies, we're learning as we go. So, any parental help, we'll take all of it.
Yes, this is why you got friends. This is why you got the pod, brother. This is what we're here for.
We got to bounce ideas off each other. Understand, learn.
Yeah, just got to, yep. Spitball stuff.
You never know what life is going to throw at you.
Yep. All right, let's get into it, guys. Eagles, another big win this weekend over the Baltimore Ravens, 24-19. Ravens score garbage touchdown at the end. The second half was really dominated by the Birds throughout. Takes their win streak now to 8 games, 10-2 on the season. We had a lot of different wrinkles we want to talk about tonight in different ways to kind of dissect the dominance that has been the Eagles. But, Chris, you weren't here last week. We got the big win over the Rams. Now the Ravens. Just give us a little state of the union on what you think of where the Eagles are at this point in time.
The Eagles are very good.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Who owes the Eagles? Let's play this game real quick. Who owes Jalen Hurts the biggest apology out of the 3 of us?
Nobody.
Who?
What do you mean?
I don't think of all the people I want to give credit to for this win streak, like Jalen Hurts is not near the top of the list.
Yeah, but we dogged him. We trashed.
Bro, you had Al have it up here with the Daniel Jones chart. Daniel Jones.
I did not egg that on. I did not egg that on.
That might have been a little bit of a Joel Embiid.
I told you, keep
Let's
that
save
energy
this conversation
for
later because we have some things that I want to we're going to talk about later on, and we can get into the Jalen Hurts conversation. I think at that point.
All right,
where are we starting?
What's going on? Ernie threw me off.
All jokes aside, to answer your question, Seltzer, the Eagles are really good. They are a team at this point now. If you remember a few weeks ago, I said to you guys, if we knew we had some tests coming up, and I said that if they come out and they beat Baltimore in Baltimore, then I'm going to be the first person unlocking the cage door of the dog cage and letting everybody run wild with their fandom for this team and how far they can go. That's where I'm at now. Not only did they beat the Ravens, that score wasn't really as close as the game really was. The game actually was. I mean, Baltimore, they got beat pretty good. Now, if we played that team, honestly, watching that game, if we played that team 10 times, I think we win 7 out of 10 games against that team based on what I saw. Lamar Jackson, people were like, well, he brought his like B or C level game that game. I don't know if it was as much as the Eagles forced that kind of game upon him. Like, give the Eagles defense some credit.
Lamar still has these stinkers, man.
Yep.
And
in big spots.
But his winning percentage is through the roof. It's ridiculous. He's only lost one game ever before Sunday against our division in his career. Not that that's saying too much, since historically last 8 or so years. How long has he been in the league now?
He only lost one game against an NFC team before.
NFC team. I'm sorry, excuse me. I think I said division. Yeah. So, I mean, that's saying a lot. I mean, aside from playing Mahomes, he's really owned everybody
until the playoffs.
Yeah, when he plays Mahomes.
No, he lost to
he lost to the Titans that 1 year.
Chargers.
Yeah.
I think he lost to Buffalo as well 1 year.
Well, Buffalo's had their own share of playoff issues as well, but
correct. All right, so we thought, obviously the Eagles are now in the mix to be discussed as the best team in the NFL. They're definitely among the top teams, and thought it would be cool. Al, you brought up this idea to say if you had $100 and you had to distribute it,
which I don't,
among teams to win the Super Bowl, how would you allocate that money? So what I did here is I put the top 6 teams that I thought had a realistic chance of winning the Super Bowl. And if you guys want to add any more teams in there, we can. But I have the odds for the top 6. I really don't think we're going outside of this, but you guys always surprise me.
Do you want me to share my screen? I have it on my screen too.
Sure, but okay, I'll announce it for the audio listeners.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so I have, and now if some of this changed, you let me know. I have the Detroit Lions are currently the Vegas favorites at plus 290, so almost 3-1. Then the Eagles at 5-1. The Bills are at 5-1. The Chiefs are at 5.5-1. The Ravens at 10-1. The Packers at 14-1. And Al, you listed the 3 other teams. I don't think we're going there, but maybe we are. Vikings 17, Steelers 24, Texans 34. But to me, there's a clear line between the Packers and the Vikings as far as actual chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm a value hunter, so I wanted to put those. I thought that the Vikings, Steelers, and Texans probably were the 3 outside of those top, 5 or 6? That some people might consider.
All right, let me I'll open it up with how I would distribute my money since I'm Mr. Negadelphia here. First of all, I'm throwing $10 on Baltimore. I just kind of trash Lamar. I'm not really into Lamar, but Al, you mentioned value. I think at 10-1, you get him on a little bit of a drop after that Eagles game. And I think they're a team that can put it all together at one time. So give me 10 on the Ravens. Give me 15 on the Chiefs. And listen, the Chiefs have certainly looked like shit the last 5-6 weeks for sure. But they did the same thing last year. If you remember Christmas Day last year, they played the Raiders. They lost 10-0, I think. The offense looked terrible. We all thought that they were going to fall apart. This team still has the pedigree, the coach, the quarterback, that I'm not writing them off yet. I'm putting 25 on Buffalo. Really like what I see from Buffalo. Awesome win for them in the snow the other night. Think it's time that they put it all together. And then I'm putting 50 on the Eagles, guys. I'm putting 50 on the Birds at 5-1. I think they're the best team in football. Detroit's certainly up there, but at plus 290, I'm not interested in that value if I can get the Eagles at 5-1. So to me, there's more value on Philadelphia. I certainly think that if the Eagles manage to steal home field, it's a hell of a lot harder for Detroit to come into Philadelphia than it is for Philadelphia to go into Detroit and win a football game. I'm a little worried about Detroit's defense. They have a lot of injuries on that side of the ball. The Bears exposed them a little bit in the second half of Thanksgiving. I think it's the NFC is the Eagles for the taking. We dissected the positions last week, Al. There are a lot of advantages for the Eagles. I think they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now, and they just have to stay healthy.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of talking about the apologies in the beginning, because what I wanted to allude to is that the NFL is so fluid, man. Things change so fast. And from what we saw in the first 4 weeks of the season to what we've seen now in the last, 7 or 8 weeks, this Eagles team is completely changed. They're completely different, and they're the class of the NFL. When you look at this list, The top 4 teams, in my opinion, are the only ones right now, as it stands today, that have a chance to win the Super Bowl. It's Detroit, it's Philly, it's Buffalo, and it's Kansas City. The other teams, they're on the outside looking in. They have big problems that they need to address in order to get there. So if you're asking me where I'm putting my money, I'm in a little bit of a similar spot as you, Adam, but I think I've zeroed in on 3 teams, and I'm putting my money on those 3 teams and those 3 teams only. So I'm taking $10 and I'm putting it on one of those outside teams because I'm a value hunter, as I said. I'm putting $10 on the Packers only because they're 4-1 on the road this season. So they're the outside looking in team where going on the road and winning games looks like it's not something that's going to be necessarily a huge obstacle to overcome for them. They're comfortable in that scenario. Then I look at Buffalo and Kansas City. Buffalo has to prove that they can do it before I put my money on them. Kansas City not only is on the path to the 1 seed, even though they look like last year's Eagles a little bit with the whole they're winning games by the skin of their teeth. The offense doesn't look very impressive. And if they didn't have the 12th man on the field, and I'm talking about the refs, they probably would have about 4 or 5 losses this season. But until that team loses, I can't put my money on another team. So I'm putting $40 on the Chiefs at 5.5 to 1. And you know where I'm going with that remaining 50, Adam. It's the same place you went. I'm throwing down 2 green 25 chips right there on the Kelly Green, on the Eagles at 5 to 1 odds, because I think right now they are the best team in the NFL.
Well, I'll say a phrase that I've said a lot in my life, and unfortunately, a lot of times it's gotten me in trouble. It might this time as well. I'm all in. I'm all in. No, but I think that these teams, first of all, I think the Chiefs are the biggest frauds that I mean, I thought last year we were frauds with that record we had. These guys are it really feels like at the end of games, the league calls and they're like, all right, let's go. We got to do what we got to do. Because these teams find a way to hand them the game or the refs make sure that they win the game. At the end of every single game, it's so annoying, so frustrating. I predict they're going to be one and done. I don't care who they play in the first round. I think they're going to beat the Chiefs. So that's not sustainable. They've won 13 straight games now by single digits by 1 possession, which is an NFL record. It's not sustainable to play that way, especially the later you get in the year when the weather starts to be a factor. They obviously play Kansas City, so they're comfortable with that. But when you got to travel on the road in those kind of situations, things get tricky. Before or even during the postseason, whatever, screw them. All right, but Steelers, I think, aren't going to be able to sustain it. Minnesota, I think, is fraudulent. I think Darnold's going to show his true face at some point soon. Baltimore, I think if you're a team that's confident in your zone defense against Lamar Jackson, I think you're going to be able to win that game. This past Sunday was a little bit unnerving for me if I'm a Ravens fan, and they're leaking oil a little bit also. They've been a little bit cold recently, so I'm out on them. Team I am in on is Green Bay. I think Green Bay might actually be the best team in that NFC North when it's all said and done. But Detroit, like you said, Al, Seltzer, I think you said it too. Their defense is a little bit
banged up.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit nervous about them. Plus, historically speaking, they've never done it before. So you're betting on history, which is tough. So I don't know if I can put my money there. Buffalo, Josh Allen, Embiid is their quarterback. We know what that means.
That's so wrong. But finish your statement.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong.
Finish.
So with all that being said, there's 2 teams. Obviously the Eagles, and I don't know why, but when I look at the Texans, listen to me for a second. They have a little bit of a snake bite to them, I think. They have a quarterback, they got a running game, they have a traveling defense. And in the postseason, that can make you a path to success. So are they ready yet? Maybe not. But if you're going to go for value, I might throw $5 on the Texans. at plus 3,400. But ultimately, my money's going on the Eagles. I really think that this Eagles team, barring any unforeseen injuries, is the team this year that, for my money, top to bottom, is the best in the league.
I think we might have to have a little side bet there, guest, on who goes further, the Steelers or the Texans. I'm in on the Steelers more than I am on the Texans right now.
Probably for the similar reasons that I'm in on the Texans, though, right?
Yeah, they're very similar teams in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just think Stroud, something looks wrong with Stroud this year. He doesn't look as sharp as he did last year. It's probably that Ohio State thing creeping up on him.
That's another
There's
short
going to be
for
some
day.
at some point in this
But
episode.
I wouldn't be surprised
First
that
of many
either, Al.
shots you're going to hear tonight. First of many.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened now, honestly, with the Steelers. At some point, we got to see a Pennsylvania Super Bowl, right? At some point, that's got to happen. It's been so close a few times now in the last 20-something years. At some point, it's going to happen. But I'll throw $5 on the Texans, but 95 goes on the Birds, the Eagles.
I actually would prefer the Chargers to the Steelers or the Texans, if you ask me.
Well, I mean,
Now,
you've been preferring them for 30 years.
That's
Now, I
true.
will
But
say-
This is a different type of Chargers team.
Seltzer, I will say I've been telling Sarah when we watch on Sundays on the Red Zone, I've been telling her that the Chargers are a team that just sneakily just slithers in the grass all year. And you're right. They probably should be somewhere on this board.
Their defense is nice this year.
Good defense. They can run the ball, and they don't have a dope for a coach.
And they got
For once.
Lad McConkey.
Big
Glad
lad. Just a stat check. Josh Allen, 10 career playoff games, 21 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions, average yard, 272 yards per game, 100 QB rating. Pretty much has been the reason that the Bills are in these games. I don't think you can compare him to Mr. Joel Embiid, who has
No Super
actually
Bowls.
cost a
No
Sixer
Super Bowl
game.
appearances. No Super Bowl wins.
That's fine. I mean, it's
I'm
a
sick
team
and tired
game.
of hearing about this guy.
But he has performed. You can't call him Joel Embiid. You can say that
in
he
that
has
Miami
led the
game,
team to the Super
that
Bowl,
Miami game that they had, was it last year, 2 years ago, when they almost lost at home?
But that's fine. He had a bad game, but they still won that game.
Wait, but you act like the guy has been flawless in the postseason, and like their defense lets him down. There's been times where his gunslinging has gotten him in trouble in the postseason too.
He's thrown 4 interceptions in the postseason. That's it.
The interceptions doesn't mean that he's. I mean, I like to see his completion percentage.
64.6.
All right, so it's pretty good. But I'll say this: he ain't getting to the Super Bowl, bro. Just like Joel ain't getting to the finals.
But he has every year they got to go through
you gotta
Kansas City.
win.
Kansas City's been that team. You know that. That's
At some point, he's got to beat them.
and to be fair, he put his team. If you remember that game that went
remember.
to overtime or whatever, he put his team in position to do it,
They were right there.
and the
It
defense
was one
blew
of
it.
It was one of the best. It was one of the best games of all time. But guess what? Joel Embiid had a 50-point game in the postseason.
In game
And-
3
and-
of round
and
1.
helped this team in that. It's apples to oranges, Seltzer. All right, we're talking about a series versus a winner-take-all playoff format. It's a different animal.
That would be like if I said it against the Miami Dolphins, Josh Allen lit him up. Now, if
All
Joel
I'm
Embiid
saying
would have
is,
done
I'm
that.
tired of this guy being in the elite
If
group,
Joel Embiid
and
would
he
have done that
hasn't
in
won
game
anything.
6 against the Boston Celtics,
He's
Then
definitely
we-
in the elite group this year.
Oh yeah, this year, yeah. But I'm saying as far as like without even thinking, people are always like, oh, Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, and everybody else is whatever. But the fact of the matter is, like, Josh Allen, I don't know. I'm
Yes.
just
Guys, can I just say that I'm with you on your assessment of Kansas City. The only thing that I think, Kansas City is to me, it looks like last year's Eagles team, but the only difference is what Ernie said in the chat. They have Andy Reid and they have Patrick Mahomes. And until the wheels fall off of that, I'm not ready to sit here and bet against it. So let me ask you, because you kind of said you're out on Buffalo, you're out on Kansas City. Who's your AFC pick to make the Super Bowl right now? Is it the Texans?
well, to be fair, I'm not necessarily. Let me rephrase that. I'm not necessarily out on Buffalo. I just feel like that I think that the quarterback is someone that people just automatically think like, all right, he's playing well, so they're going to win a championship. Like, to me, I think he's overrated at the end of the day. So, but with that being said, Buffalo is probably, if I had to put money on a team for the AFC right now, that would probably be the team, I guess, that I would be most confident in how their team is playing overall.
Right.
But like I said, there's the Texans got a little bit of snake in them. I don't know what it is to put my finger on it. Honestly, I just feel like I just like their grit. I like the way they play. They don't play. They're a tough team like their coach. They are not soft. They're not scared. And I think I could be wrong about this. I don't have any stats in front of me, but it feels like they play better against good teams or teams outside that division.
Yeah. Ernie says that we need to go on WIP or Odyssey and propose a sports morning drive show. Ernie, that's well and good, but I'm not getting up for that, man.
Yeah, it's too early, bro.
That's
They
too
get
early.
up in like 5 hours for this. I wouldn't be able to do it.
I think our other professions may have an issue with that as well. All right, listen, the second exercise we want to do tonight is rank the 10 best players on the Eagles this season. And I don't know about you guys, when I was going through this, I had a very difficult time ranking these players.
This was hard, and we're going to screw it up. We're going to screw it up.
And we're going to go one by one. And this is, guys, correct me if this is how you did. I just did who is having the best season, not the best player, not who has the biggest impact, but who is having the best season altogether is how I was the criteria. Impact, I did weigh into it. I'll say that.
I'm probably right there with you, Seltzer, more about right in the right now.
I guess I kind of did that to a point. I would say I did that same thing.
Okay. So I did the order, and it was me first, it was guest second, it was Al third. So we'll go 10 through 1, right? And then I'll give a name, and then that's how we'll put the list together. Pull up the list. So I don't know about you guys, but I had a clear-cut top 8, and then numbers 9 and 10 were a little bit tougher for me.
I had more of a clear-cut top 7.
Okay.
I didn't have a problem with this list, to be honest with you. Maybe I don't know. We'll see.
Not even ranking it?
Yeah, I did it pretty quickly.
Guess you can't put Garrett Wilson on this list.
He wears green, don't he?
Yeah, wrong green, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to mention, as diehard Jets fans, you guys pumped for the Aaron Rodgers documentary coming out?
Oh, my God, stop it.
All right, listen, I'll start with number 10. I have a surprise here at number 10. And I was looking through, my buddy at work let me use some of his PFF stats. And this guy
I know you're going to pick.
is number 1 in the NFL in regards to, they call it pass rushing PRP. I don't even know. It's basically sacks, hits, and hurries versus the number of times he's rushing the passer. It's basically the efficiency of getting to him. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I got Milt Williams at number 10.
I love Milton Williams. Now, he's not on my list, but I had no problem with you putting him on yours.
Yeah.
He's been really good. And there was a couple other names. I mean, we're going to go through our individual list. I was between him and a couple other guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, on the offensive line. But I just think Milt Williams has been a standout, and he's just been awesome. He's all over the field.
He's really been consistent. I mean, in general, like not just even this year, like he's never been a problem to me. I think he's done a good job of what he's there to do.
Yeah. And when I say he's number 1 in that pass rushing efficiency stat, that's not for the Eagles. That's the entire NFL that he's number 1 in regard to efficiency for getting to the quarterback.
An unsung hero for sure. Just a grinder.
Yeah.
All right, Guess, you're up for number 9.
All right. Oh man, I thought we were all just going to go through our time. Oh,
No,
God.
man.
I hate this.
It's never that easy.
It's the worst and the best at the same time.
All right. So you want mine? I'll put it in your hands. You want my number 9 or my number 10?
Dude, you got to put down who you think belongs, right? Because chances are one of those guys now isn't going to make the list. Like I have a guy now that I know is not going to make the list.
All right. When it comes down to these guys, historically speaking, if one doesn't play, it makes more of an impact on the team overall than the other. So I'm going to go with him. So I'm going to put Jordan Mailata on this list.
Oh my God, at 9?
Yeah. You think he should be higher?
Yeah, dude. I have him in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't argue with that, but I think at the worst, as a left tackle, I mean, he's one of the premier left tackles in the league, which is a superstar position now. I'm scared to say who I was debating on him with, but
So, Al, where did you have Mailata?
I'm at 4.
Okay, I had him at 7.
He's allowed 1 sack.
He's allowed 1 sack. He's also the number 1 rated tackle by PFF.
Yeah.
My only thing is he's missed time.
That's fine, but
that's exactly why I have him lower.
And he also got destroyed by Jared Verse in that Rams game with that one play.
Not letting that go.
He's been awesome. He's been
not
awesome.
letting that go.
Dude, that was a pancake of pancakes.
That was disrespectful.
Yeah, dude, he put him on his ass.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a draft pick he was to turn into the player that he is. And you could
was
argue
he draft? Was he undrafted or was he
a 7th round pick? I thought
7th round.
He was 7th. I didn't know if he was undrafted or if he was 7th round.
Yeah, again, number 1 rated tackle by PFF.
Because we hit him, which made up for whiffing on who was it, like Danny Watkins or something? Like,
oh, no, that was a different era, I think. Watkins was way back.
Who did we whiff on though in the first round that year? And like it just made up for it.
What year were we talking?
That's be like 6 years ago at this
talking about what's his face? Chips guy, right?
Probably. I don't know.
I'll look it up. While
Smith, Marcus Smith.
Yeah. No,
Marcus Smith here?
I'm looking it up now. 2018 draft.
I think that was
the Philadelphia Eagles select nobody because they didn't have a pick.
It was a 2nd round. It was in the 2nd round. We whiffed on someone, and then it was like, oh, it's okay because Mailata panned out.
That was Goddard in the 2nd round.
And it wasn't that year. That might have been the year before. All right, I'll go while we talk about this. So this kind of, I mean, my list is, I feel wrong putting this guy at 8, but I have to do it because I have to do it. So, oh man, I don't think I can do it. I think I gotta just like pass.
Oh man.
Yeah, I hate this.
I think I gotta pass. Like I think I have to put my number 7 guy at 8, and then make you guys make the hard decisions here.
Al, you were thinking of Andre Dillard.
Yes,
Dillard, that's right.
Yes,
yeah, that was the year after.
Tennessee, right?
Yeah,
was it Washington State or Andre Dillard?
I just closed it, but no, he's on Tennessee now. I think what Al was saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna put the quarterback at number 8.
That's why I have him at 8 as well. Actually,
I'm gonna put Jalen Hurts at number 8. I mean, I think to call this a career resurgence, I think is might be a little bit drastic, but from where he was at certain points last season and even in the beginning of this season, like to see what he's doing now, and I think he's become more comfortable, A, running the ball again, and B, we talked about last week, Adam, being a little bit more of that game manager role, not having to step into that game and saying, I have to win this game. I have to put this team on my back, and I have to make sure the rent's paid. Like he's more comfortable now just doing what he needs to do within himself to just make sure he's not making mistakes. When's the last time he's thrown a red zone interception after throwing multiple in the first 4 weeks of the season? So I'm saying Jalen Hurts right now is playing the 8th best football on this team. I actually have him at 7 on my personal list, but I'm okay having him at 8.
Chris, what's the famous line from the fantasy rankings from the first year of the podcast?
I'm not saying it. You
not ranked. I don't have him ranked. I don't have him in the top 10.
I'll say this, Al. I had him at 8 on my list, but I will say I think that he's in the big picture of the league right now. I think he's a little bit overrated right now at this point where we're at. But for this team, he's doing exactly what you said. He's managing the game a lot better. He has made adjustments. That's clear. He's clearly focused on protecting the ball, and whatever happened on that bye week with him and Nick is working for the team overall, let alone their own connection. So yeah. Go ahead.
So you said what happened with him and Nick. Let me give you a stat that will tell you exactly what happened between him and Nick. The first 4 games of the season, Jalen Hurts averaged 33 pass attempts per game. Ever since the bye week, he now averages 21 pass attempts per game. They're just not putting the ball in his hands, and his job is to hand the ball off, make some plays with your legs, and make a couple key throws when it's needed. And he's doing that, and I have no problem with that. But that's why with a team as talented as this, I cannot put him in the top 10 players on this team right now because he's just not there. First of all, the depth of this team is tremendous, but he's just not being asked to do a lot. And even in a game against Baltimore, a team that's number 31 in the league in pass defense and number 1 going into the league in rush defense, he still only threw the ball 18 times. They are not asking him to do a lot because they don't want him to do a lot.
Now, is that the power and the influence of Saquon, or is
Sure.
that the team saying ultimately we're dialing it down with the quarterback?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, and the success that Saquon has had has obviously allowed them to do those things with Jalen, and the fact that they've gotten out to leads is also obviously a reason that they're able to run the football a little bit more. But I think it's a combination of those things, Chris. I think that they did lose a little confidence in him, and the success that they're having has allowed them to scale Jalen back a little bit.
I just think it's criminal to say that he doesn't play a big role in
No, I mean he's.
That's what I said. It's not. I didn't say he doesn't play a big role. I just said with the depth of this team, I don't think he's been a top 10 player on the team this year. That's all I'm saying.
It's more of a testament to the team than a
Yeah.
hit against him, is what you're saying.
Sure.
All right.
All right, back to me so I'm looking at my list here. And this is where we get into, how deep this is. I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean at 7.
It's my number 7 as well.
I just think that, Chris, you mentioned what happened during the bye week to change this thing between Nick and Jalen. When in reality is the defense is what changed after the bye week, and Cooper getting put onto the playing field has just been a revelation for these guys. Him and Quinyon, who I'm sure we're all going to have ranked in top 6 at somewhere along the line, have just allowed this pass rush to get off and be as good as it's been. And Chris, you said it 3 weeks ago and you hit the nail on the head. The guy doesn't miss tackles. And the hit he put on Derrick Henry last week was obviously an eye-opener for everybody. But he's all over the ball, man. And he's just been awesome. And what value in the second round to get that guy.
Yeah, and if you look at his tape from Iowa, like he is bringing everything that we thought we were getting back to this team as well. Like he is, as advertised, short tackler, great cover corner, really plays like the star position on defense. Like he can be a linebacker or he can be a corner. He could be a slot guy. I would trust him on the outside, to be honest with you. Like I trust the kid. The kid just is a dog. And we needed that so bad. And with that, on a side note, related to this, but Avonte Maddox has got to go.
He's
Like,
bad.
oh my God, this guy is such toast. It's getting like sad to watch him out there. And like the couple plays where Quinyon, I think, came out, they put Avonte in when they went dime formation or whatever, and he just got a penalty, I think, twice on PIs and a hold because he just can't stay with people. It's embarrassing. So
Well,
thankfully, that's why this guy's so important. We don't have to rely upon a guy like Avonte. And
PFF has him ranked the fifth best cornerback in the league right now, 5th best in coverage. Here's my question for you guys. I had Cooper DeJean at 10, and I think I had him down there at 10 for the same reason you guys had Jordan Mailata out of the top 5. For all intents and purposes, he's only played 2/3 of the games this season. He's only played 8 of the games. Same with Mailata. So are you guys saying that he's playing better ball than Jordan Mailata is? Like I don't think I can put him above.
I think my counter argument to that would be we saw the offense for a few weeks without Jordan, and it really didn't seem that much of a loss. But we've seen the defense without Cooper the first 4 weeks of the year, and it was a major, major change. And that's why I would value him over, well, to be fair, also, Al, I had Cooper at 8 and Jordan at 7 on my list.
Yeah.
So when you put the list together, it's a little confusing, but I think they're interchangeable. I think they're right around the same value this year.
It's also just an embarrassment of riches, like we've been saying.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that Mailata with his loss was not impactful, but at the same time, when DeJean is not in there, and we have to rely on a guy like Maddox or Ringo or one of those other guys to step in, like it's night and day. The defense is night and day when you have guys that can cover, especially when you don't have guys that you can rely upon, especially at that point in the season, to get to the quarterback. Coverage is even that much more important. So now, thankfully, they're able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing I would add is while offensive tackle is probably a more important position, I don't know if there's a more difficult position to play than cornerback in this league, especially with the rules that they have now.
Slot corner,
especially for a guy in the slot.
Yep.
Slot is almost impossible. I mean,
for the position difficulty and being able to replace that, I think there's additional value there.
Al, to say that he's the 5th best ranked corner?
5th, according to PFF.
as a slot guy majority right now is such a testament to how good he's been, because slot corner, in my opinion, is the hardest position to play on the football field. It is extremely difficult. And for him to be a rookie and out there and be the 5th best corner in the league is impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not mad at this.
All right, let's go to Chris for number 6.
So I'm going to go to Quinyon right here. We're going to go back to back with the corners. Quinyon is a future superstar in this league. He is going to be the next, you name it. I mean, at least for this organization, you think about guys like Eric Allen, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown, those guys that we had that we could, Bobby Taylor, we could rely upon to cover guys, lock guys up in their primes. This guy could be even better than those guys. I mean, he's already, Al, do you have his rating up there at all?
Yeah, and this is actually where PFF, you start to question their metrics a little bit, because they have him ranked as the 23rd best cornerback and the 20th best in coverage.
Okay. I mean, from what I've seen, the one difference between him and DeJean is, as much as they're both doing a great job, Mitchell's getting number ones, and he's making him look pedestrian at best. Yeah. And as a rookie, that's huge.
I had Mitchell at 3. We can talk, I think we devalue it a little bit because he's a rookie, and we're just saying, hey, it's a great rookie year. If it was his 5th year, we would be talking about this guy being an all-pro and one of the most elite corners in the NFL. That's how good he's been this year. And I don't want to, push or, devalue that because he's a rookie. I had him at number 3. I think he's been one of the most important players on the entire team.
And right now, I think he's the 2nd highest odds on favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Right. I think Jared Verse is number 1.
Yeah,
the pancake got him over the top.
Quinyanamo Bay, they call him.
Yeah, that's a great nickname.
What did they say? He hasn't given up a touchdown this whole year, or maybe one? Was it the first week?
I don't know if he has.
I don't think he has.
I don't think. Yeah, okay, maybe 0 touchdowns.
Yeah,
he's been awesome.
I mean, not like that, but like even just in general, like he hasn't been giving up a lot of yards to anybody.
No, he's been shut down. All right, Al, hit us with number 5.
All right. Well, I had Quinyon at 5, and while we've been going over this, man, I'm between 2 guys here, and I don't want to disrespect either of them, and I don't think it's disrespect to have them in the top 5. So you know what? I'll just put the guy that I had lower of the 2, and I'm going to put Zach Bond here.
Okay, in the 5 too.
I bought it
aligned a lot with these.
I bought it 4.
Okay. So Zach Bond, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet. Somebody compared Zach Bond to Luke Kuechly in Luke Kuechly's Defensive Player of the Year award-winning season through 12 games. Tackles, Bond 118, Kuechly 102. Tackles for loss, Bond 6, Kuechly 7. Sacks, Bond 2.5, Kuechly 1. Forced fumbles, Bond 4, Kuechly 0. And interceptions, Bond 1, Kuechly 3. This guy's playing DPOY ball. And to do it as no disrespect intended, as an unknown, as a guy who was looked at as a second-rate pass rush outside type of guy, a one-trick pony type of guy, like a C+ player, B- player, to be a top inside linebacker in the league, he is all over the field. You talk about most important players on this team, his name better be up there when you bring up that conversation, because every time you look when the Eagles are on defense, he is somewhere on that field making a play.
Yeah.
Chris, I looked at the PFF ratings earlier. I know Al has them in front of him. Where do you think he ranks in regards to linebackers this year by PFF?
Bond, in terms of what, coverage, or in terms
just
of
overall play? It factors in pass, run, all that.
He's got to be top 10.
Number 1.
Yeah, I was going to say he's been incredible.
He's been a revelation at the linebacker position, in a position that the Eagles have continuously ignored, and now you can see the value of having a guy like that on the football field.
And guys, the crazy thing is, as great of a season as he's had, he hasn't even been used to his strength. He was brought here to be like an additional pass rusher, basically from the outside. He doesn't even have to even do that.
Well, given the career path that he had, that might not have been his strength. His strength would be where he's at right now.
Yes,
that is true.
I have to say, though, guys, we have 4 left, and I only have 3 clear-cut guys left on my list. I don't know who the hell's sneaking into this top 4.
I have 4 guys left. I've got 4 clear ones here. I'm going to go.
Don't be disrespectful.
No, there's 2 guys here.
Respect the game, Seltzer. Do the right thing.
I'm just debating which one. I'm going to go Lane at 4.
There you go. Very good.
Oh, I got okay.
That's what
I actually had him lower on my list. I had him at 6 on my list.
I had him at 4 on mine.
I mean, Lane's great. He's one of the best offensive tackles in the game. But again, he is 27th in offensive pass rating blocking this year. Yeah, he's allowed, I think, the 4th fewest pressures in the league. He's awesome. I think sometimes we can undervalue him because of his longevity and just how steady he's been over there. And I think that sometimes that hurts him when we have discussions like this.
It shouldn't, though. That should be the strength because the NFL is such a high turnover league, and for you to play that long and be that good at it is a testament to his greatness at that position.
Yeah, and I just think sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, Lane, just because he's just doing his job over an offensive tackle where, the highlights are few and far between. I guess they don't run enough reverses for him to throw the ball. Maybe they should put that into the playbook.
But listen, I'll bet you as an offensive lineman, I bet you that's one of the most flattering things to say is what you just said, which is that he just goes out there and does his job and you don't really think of it that much. They really want to be those guys that are the heroes in the shadows.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's what the job is.
I agree with you. And listen, we've seen what happens to this offense when he doesn't play. We mentioned it with Jordan, how the offense kind of stayed its course, but we've also seen this offense without Lane Johnson in it. We've seen it completely tank. So his values should not be, like you said, Chris, it should not be understated how important he is to this team. I go Lane at 4.
I had him at 2. I think he's that important to this team, man.
Yeah. All right, so good back to Chris, right?
Yeah, guess has really the last pick. Like the last 2 have to be the last 2.
So I'm going to say, as important as we all agree, thankfully, that Lane is to this team, and we've seen what this offense looks like when he's not on the field. Another guy that you could put right there, maybe even more so, is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown on the field, the Eagles have not lost a game this year. And it's a clear, definitive reason why he brings an element to the game that is super important. And you can look at the stats like from last week where he had 5 for 66, I think it was. But he's so much more important a lot of times than the stats show. Just him being on the field and having the defense have to give him attention opens up everything else for Saquon, for Jalen, for Goddard, for Devontae. All that stuff opens up because he's just out there, let alone when he gets the ball, what he can do. So he's my clear number 3.
Yeah, there was a stat that I saw that against man coverage, he's averaging the most yards in the league. I think he's averaging like 10 yards a catch or something like that against man coverage.
And that's another thing too, kind of real quick, rewinding back to what we talked about with Quinyon. This guy's going against the best, one of the best in practice every day too. And that helps him a lot. I mean, 95% of the guys that Quinyon's going to face are not as good as A.J. Brown. And he sees this guy every day. That's what's going to make him better. And it'll make A.J. Brown better too, because Quinyon's a stud. So, yeah, he's my number 3 for sure.
Yeah, I had A.J. at 5. I agree with everything Chris said in regards to his value to the team. But again, I think when we're nitpicking, like, again, how talented a lot of these guys are, my only knock against him this year is he only averages like four catches a game. I think maybe 5. He's only at like 39 catches for the season.
But that's the offense too.
Correct. Right. That's what I was going to say. Like we talked about Hurts's attempts per game. That's obviously plays a part in how many balls AJ can catch. And I think that, again, when I'm nitpicking between Lane Johnson and AJ Brown and Zach Bond, that weighed into why I had him at 5. But his value on this team is, it can't be quantified.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we know the top 2 have to be. I misspoke earlier. I was glancing over AJ's name on my list.
Gotcha.
So number 2 has to be Jalen Carter.
Yep.
And for all of the talk not every off, he's only been around for 3 years, but about him not being in shape and whether or not he can stay on the field. He's on the field almost the entire game. He played 99% of the snaps this past week against Baltimore. Obviously, we all saw him blow through the line and rip Zay Flowers down basically with one arm. The dude is an absolute monster. He's playing Shaquille O'Neal Lakers level ball right now in the NFL. He's getting held and pounded on every
Oh my God, he's getting beat up.
Double team, triple team. It doesn't matter. He's an absolute dominant force. And this whole defense, all for as great as the secondary is and as great as the linebackers are, they can all breathe easier knowing that they have Jalen Carter rumbling, into the backfield basically every play.
Yeah, and he's another one that opens up everything from the defensive side of the ball because, the strength from the inside out, that it's not a coincidence that the better he's gotten all year long, now all of a sudden we're starting to get to the quarterback. Josh Sweat's starting to get his sack numbers up. Other guys on the outside are starting to get they're starting to get to the quarterbacks, and it's no coincidence that that's happening at the same time. The referees are literally not calling penalties against this kid to try to neutralize the game, because if they did, it would just be a disaster. It would be a joke for other teams against this guy. Yeah. He has been unbelievable, and shame on the league for letting 9 teams pass up on this kid in the draft. But hey, thank you.
Yeah. 43 pressures from the interior. Again, a guy who's getting double teamed all the time is a really, really good number. And, we talked about Zach Bond, and Chris, you kind of mentioned it. Jalen Carter's making his job a hell of a lot easier because he is eating up offensive linemen and opening up holes for Zach Bond to attack. I had Jalen at 2 as well. And number 1 is obviously Saquon Barkley. We talked about him ad nauseum last week. He is going to finish potentially number 2 in the MVP votes, maybe number 1, depending on how it finishes. Everything that we thought he could be as a Giant, we're now seeing it with a good football team. It just shows you how bad that Giants organization was and that offensive line was with what he's going to do. Every week you're waiting for him to break that long run, that long touchdown. He has 6 runs of 40 yards or more this year. That's double what the next highest guy has had. He's actually had 3 40-yard touchdown runs, and that's the next highest. Derrick Henry was 3 40-yard runs total. He's got 800-yard games. It's just a shame, and I'm going to take a low blow here. It's just a shame that he doesn't have 7 to 9 more touchdowns because we got to tush push it from the 1-yard line every time, or he may lead the NFL or maybe the leading candidate for MVP at this point.
No,
you would have closer to 15 touchdowns.
You're right about that. That's true.
How about this, Seltzer? I saw this yesterday. Counting only his second half stats, he would be 4th in the league in rushing.
Yeah, he's been a second half warrior. He's been just a revelation. And I mean, look, we've had, you guys know I'm not a big Swift guy, but Swift is okay. We had Miles Sanders, who had a really good year here 2 years ago. And the difference in talent of running back between him and those guys, look what it's done for this football team. It's unbelievable.
He's on pace to have the greatest season running back has ever had in the National Football League. And around this time of this holiday season, the phrase what is it? Every time something happens, the angel gets its wings. What do they say? From It's a Wonderful Life, whatever it is. Well, every time Saquon does something magical on the field, which is very common, Joe Shane packs a bag. Because it is unbelievable that guy and not only let him walk, but they let us see exactly what happened and how stupid they looked and how helpless Saquon was and sounded to the organization. Total disgrace.
There's another guy that I think we've thrown under the bus here a couple of times in our earlier frustrations that deserves some credit, because when you look at this list, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that were not in Eagle Green last season because they were a rookie, because they were on another team. Guys, I mean, Howie just deserves all the praise that he has ever gotten and more. It's unbelievable. You got Saquon, Zach Bond, Quinyon, and Cooper all on this list in the top 7.
Five homegrown draft picks by Howie.
That is unbelievable. What he
and I've been really hard on Howie for some of his draft picks and some of his signings in the offseason. And you guys are right. He's done a great job drafting these guys. Sometimes it took a little longer to develop. We're seeing some flashes from Nolan Smith, even bringing in Mekhi Becton.
Dude, I was just about – you just stole my thunder. I was about to say that's not even counting Devontae Smith. That's not counting Cam Jurgens. That's not counting Nakobe Dean. That's not counting –
I had Jurgens as my 11. He barely didn't crack my list.
These are all Howie draft picks.
Yes.
The narrative's got to die. It's done.
Did you guys have anybody on this list or on your list that didn't make this list?
Devontae was number 10 for me. That was who I was debating between with Mailata and Devontae at the end, or at the bottom.
That's what you had, Al?
I had Devontae at 9, but it's fair not to have him because if you're going to penalize guys for missing time, I mean, it's hard to have him on that list.
Okay, and to be fair, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say I had Josh Sweat on my list at 9 above instead of Hurts. That's the only guy. That's the only flip flop I had. I assume you guys did not have Milton Williams. That was the guy you wouldn't have had.
No, I thought about him. I didn't pull the trigger on him for the top 10. But I mean, I had no problem with you doing it. I think he's deservedly in that spot.
Seltzer, you want to run down the top 10?
Sure. So here's what we have. We have number 10, Milton Williams. Number 9, Jordan Mailata. Number 8, Jalen Hurts. Number 7, Cooper DeJean. Number 6, Quinyon Mitchell. Number 5, Zach Bond. Number 4, Lane Johnson. A.J. Brown at 3, Jalen Carter at 2, and Saquon at 1. That's our list of the best Eagles this season.
I jokingly said earlier in the season that Zach Ball might already be a top 5 linebacker in Eagles history. Barring any disasters from any of these 10 guys, Saquon's putting together the best running back season in Eagles history. Ball might put together the best linebacking season in Eagles history. And Mitchell might be putting together a top 3 cornerback season in Eagles history.
They better not screw it up.
That's like, guys, this team is wild. I want to shout out my brother-in-law, Dan, because he is nauseatingly optimistic about this team. And he has never wavered at all this season about this being a Super Bowl caliber roster. And this roster is insanely good.
And they're young.
Yeah.
And they're fun.
Yeah. That's, you know what? That's a great point. We all of a sudden, and you could go back to week 2 and listen to our episode, which I would highly recommend you not do because you probably sound like morons. But I mean, there was a lot of people in this city that sounded the same, though, that we were unsure about what the direction was after that collapse against Atlanta in that home opener. And but at the same token, that Packers win looks even better now. That Packers win is a big win. Yeah. I mean, that might be even bigger than the Baltimore win.
And that's one of the 3 or 4 Saquon games where we don't win that game without him.
100%. So, I mean, if you look, I think it was, I did this earlier. I think Detroit has, if I remember correctly, I want to say 5 wins against current playoff teams. And the Eagles now have 4. But they had the potential still to get a couple. If they beat Washington again, obviously, but Detroit's got some tough sledding the rest of the year, man.
Oh yeah.
So we looked at it. We looked at it last week. I was looking at it again today. I really don't see the Eagles getting the 1 seed unless it's a tiebreaker. Because if I look at the Lions' schedule the rest of the way, and yeah, they could drop a game here or there. But so they have the Packers at home on Thursday. And then they have short week, correct?
Actually, no, it's not because they had the Thanksgiving game.
Right. The Bills at home the week after. So let's say they split with those 2 games. That gives them 2 losses. Then they have at Chicago, it's a tougher game, but Chicago, who knows what you're getting at this point. Then at San Francisco, which does not look as formidable as it did at one point. And then the Vikings at home. I don't see them losing that game. So let's say they lose. Even if they lose 2 more games, the Eagles still have to run the table, and we'll see if that would be at that point, 13 wins in a row, something like that?
Mm-hmm. Counting.
Yeah.
And guess what? At this point, we're pretty much, I mean, barring any unforeseen situation, even if we did drop a game or 2, we're locked in at the 2 seed at least, right? I think Detroit, I told you guys already, Detroit managed a way to somehow have a full season where they only played 3 games outside.
Yeah.
2 of them are about to come up in a few weeks. So they've only had 1 game outside this year so far. Now they won that game in Green Bay, but Chicago is going to be a whole different animal at this time of year. And San Francisco, we'll see what they bring to the table at that point in that game. Obviously, we know McCaffrey's out. Who knows if they're going to do a Purdy at this point? They might just wrap it up and just put him in bubble wrap. I don't know. But that game could be a tough one.
And that injury bug is biting Detroit.
Yeah.
It's starting. Yeah.
And Jahmyr Gibbs is giving away all the secrets.
Yeah, that's true.
You see that post?
No, I didn't see it.
He took like a TikTok or something in the locker room, and unbeknownst to him, behind him on the whiteboard was all of like the terminology that they use at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Really?
Yeah.
They asked Campbell about it after the game. He was like, "What?"
Yeah. Somebody with the media ratted him out.
Ben Johnson can be happy about that. That's shades of when the Sixers had that post a few years back when they had their free agency plans on the board. Remember that? Those idiots.
Yeah. All right, let's get into predictions for this weekend. Obviously, the Panthers. I don't think there's a whole lot to dig into here, and then we'll do our best bet and we'll wrap up. Let's start with you, Al. What do you got for the Eagles Panthers?
Birds by a million. What do we need to get into with this?
Chris?
I mean, I tell my kids the same thing. You got to respect every opponent. So respect the Panthers, but they should win this game by at least 2 touchdowns.
I actually think it's a game they might sleepwalk a little bit here on this one. We got a couple of big wins on the road, Rams, Ravens, and Steelers on deck. I actually think the Panthers are playing a little bit better. I think the Eagles sleepwalk, and it's a little closer than we'd like it. I got 23-16 Eagles this weekend.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. I don't even care. Just get through them and stay healthy.
Especially against this.
I promise if they play bad and they still win, we're not going to come on here and bash them because it's a schedule spot. All right, let's go to best bets. Bad news, guys. The streak ended for me this weekend as the Kirk Cousins could not get the job done. Did you hear the stat on Bill Simmons' podcast about Kirk Cousins this weekend?
No, what was it?
So they have the next gen stats, and Kirk Cousins was the first quarterback in the next gen era to not throw a football over 36 miles an hour in a game.
Dude, that's such a next gen stat.
And the game was inside. It was in the dome.
Yeah, he was awful. I mean, he was watching that, like, there was a throw he made in the red zone that it got intercepted in the end zone. That was literally, it looked like he was trying to get it intercepted.
Yeah,
I mean, it was terrible.
I would assume there's probably an injury there if you're throwing the ball like that, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go. I mentioned a couple minutes ago, I think San Fran's probably packing it in. McCaffrey's injured. They've had a ton of injuries. Just a disaster season for them. Chicago Bears fired their coach. Get a little extra time to rest and relax. I think the team comes out fired up. Give me the Bears +4 in San Francisco this week.
Guess, go ahead. You guess. By the way, the celebrity pick for you last week. You had the Ravens, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you took an L last week.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you bet against the Eagles 2 weeks in a row now. What are you going to do this week?
I know.
Bears +4.5. 4.5. My bad.
I'm gonna take the Chargers in Kansas City on Sunday night +3.5. I think that at this point, someone's got to bust these dudes' ass. I'm getting sick of this, and I think the Chargers, divisional opponent, they know that team well. Primetime spot. Harbaugh's going to get those guys fired up. I think they go out and I think they win that game outright. The Chargers. So I'll definitely take them with the points +3.5.
I like that.
Well, Seltzer, go ahead and mute the computer. Turn the volume off for this one. All right. There's a game this weekend that when I saw the matchup, I said, oh boy, the favorite in this game, they have to be given 10.5 at least. We're talking about a team that's the number 1 team in the nation. They're undefeated. However, that's not the case. I'm going to college, boys, and I'm going to Indianapolis to the Big Ten championship at Lucas Oil Field, where we have the undefeated.
And for now, we can drop that beat.
I can't talk. I'm done. I'm out. I'm muted.
Well, what do you got, Al? What's the call? What's the
oh no, it says Seltzer muted my mic. Can you hear me? I can't.
Yeah, you're back on. You're back on.
So Penn State is only getting 3.5. They opened at 3. if there is a fishier line, I'd like to know what it is, because first of all, the public loves to bet against Penn State. So to only be getting 3 points on a neutral field against the number 1 team, the undefeated Oregon Ducks, I think is screaming for duck money. All right. I looked a little deeper though. Oregon, besides that 1-point victory at home to Ohio State, does not have a good win this year. They have not played anybody.
Who have you beat?
Especially
Who have you beat?
Uh-oh.
Who's Penn State beat?
The 19th ranked Illinois, the Fighting Illini.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Great.
We beat West Virginia in the home opener, or in the season opener, I should say, because it was at West Virginia. It wasn't even at home. All right. We went to Wisconsin and won 28-13, whereas Oregon barely got a 3-point victory at Camp Randall. Oh, get out of here, guest, Notre Dame.
We're slithering in the grass, Al.
I'm taking
We're
Penn State.
slithering.
In all honesty, what a Penn State thing it would be to be the number 1 seed in the playoff the year where they expand from 4 to 12 teams, when you don't even need to be the number 1 seed anymore.
Yeah, man. I think Penn State could win that game. I haven't really seen a lot of Oregon this year, to be honest with you, but I think Penn State, I think they could win that one. In which case, if you're going to win it all, then this is the year, because I think it's wide open.
Get ready. I'm going to be pissed if we lose that game and then they drop us to like 8. I'm going to be furious, because we were locked in at 6.
Right now, you're 5.
Yeah, but I'm saying the committee, as they always do, they bullshit, and they said that they're not going to penalize a team for losing in its conference championship game.
Well, if you lose, why should you be ranked higher than Ohio State?
Well, wait a minute.
Why should we be?
You have 2 losses
to an unranked team.
You have 2 losses if you lose too. You lost to Ohio State. Why should they be ranked lower than you?
We lost to the 4th ranked team at home.
You lost to the team that you're trying to say you're better than, you lost to in your building.
But listen, that happened the first year of the playoffs where we beat Ohio State, had 2 losses, won the Big Ten championship, and they put Ohio State in ahead of us because they had 1 loss.
We were the champions.
Okay, they have the same amount of losses. They have the same amount of losses at this point.
This has already happened to us. You can't lose at home to an unranked Michigan team. You can't.
No, that's a tough. That's an awful loss.
I understand that point. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Because if you keep playing the head-to-head game, then it screws, like Alabama's in and Ole Miss is in, and
Alabama's absolutely going to get in.
Yeah, 100%. And they should, because at the end of the day, you know what they should really do is just match the teams up and ask Vegas to put hypothetical spreads out there. You're telling me if you match up Alabama and Miami, that Miami will be favored? That's not true.
Well,
Indiana shouldn't even be in. Get Indiana out.
Right now, as it stands, Penn State would play Arizona State in that first round game.
The 5 seed's where you want to be.
The matchup right now is juicy as hell for Penn State, because we play Arizona State at home and then we'd go to Boise.
Yeah, I think that's where I wanted Notre Dame at 5. I think you're right, Seltzer. I think 5 is the spot you want to get to. Now, if Penn State loses, guess who's going to get that 5 spot, baby?
That's bullshit. You reward a team for being a bullshit independent and not playing in a championship game. And then we do, and if we lose, like let's say it's a 3-point loss.
But Al, even if you lose, you have not beat anybody. You can't rip on his schedule. You have no good wins. You have none.
We have a ranked win, dude. We beat.
I wouldn't say they don't have any good wins.
Illinois is the best team to beat, guest.
As Chris loves to say, you can only play the teams in front of you. That's all you can do.
And you lost to the best one, the best 2 you played. They beat you.
What are you going to do? What do you want me to say? Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. What do you want me to say?
I mean, Notre Dame.
Alabama has good wins. You don't
Notre Dame lost. Who was it? Like Western Kentucky, South Africa. Who was it?
you keep talking about the losses. You don't talk about the wins.
We beat the teams that were in front of us, except for 1. That's it.
No, 2. If you lose to Oregon, that was the point.
But we're not good.
That's what we're arguing.
Guess what? We're not good because the best bet's locked in.
I mean, Notre Dame has beaten, I think Notre Dame's beaten more ranked teams than Penn State has, to be fair, if you want to really call it.
Illinois is the only team that they beat that's reasonably good.
I mean, Notre Dame had beat up on 2 ranked teams in the Army and Navy. That's all right. Hey, listen, that ain't our fault that y'all wanted to rank them. I don't know. They were ranked 19 and 21 respectively when we played them, and we blew their doors off. There was a nice win earlier in the year against Texas A&M. There were some nice wins that Notre Dame had this year. Don't disrespect the Irish.
At the end of the day, Ohio State's a better football program than Penn State because when they lose, they will fire Ryan Day, and Penn State will ride James Franklin until the fucking train comes home.
They will ride
And that's a
him.
fact.
After Franklin's last press conference, though, man, I'm kind of in. When he was talking about after the game, that handshake, and when the Maryland coach was all pissed off, I'm kind of in on Franklin right
Well,
now.
wait a
You
minute.
guys
What did he
are such
say?
suckers.
So
All
Maryland's coach was pissed, accusing Franklin of running up the score because he threw a touchdown. They threw a touchdown pass as time expired when they were already up 30. I think it was 37-7. But Franklin at the press conference was like, "Nah, fuck that. Like we're playing for position, and this shit matters. Like point differential matters." He said, "We had our 3s and 4s in. You had your 1s in." He said, "Your 1s were still trying to score against our 3s and 4s. I'm not going to tell my 3s and 4s to go out there and not play football. They're going to go out there and play football. So if you want to stop them, but don't bitch at me when you can't."
Yeah. No, I dig that. I dig that.
Who's
We'll
this guy
find
you
out,
brought in?
man.
Is this your burner? Count out beautiful bearded bastards.
That's my boys right there, dude. Team Beard. I see Guest shaved. You're off the team, dude. The Beard oil is out.
Bear. Speaking of which, a perfect time to shout out the Temple Owls football program for hiring Casey Keeler as their new head coach from Sam Houston State.
Oh boy.
271, 112, and 1 record overall in his career.
How old is this dude? Is this dude 85 years old?
31-year coaching career. He was a Blue Hen for a while. Delaware Blue Hen led him to an FCS title, and also brought one home to Sam Houston State in 2020. Local guy, trying to at least not just like bring wins to the program, but literally save the program.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Good luck.
It was only 10 years ago that they were college game day was at the link,
Dude,
man.
you remember that? That was that was cool.
Yeah.
And they almost beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I was torn.
Beat Penn State.
It's like watching my daughters fight each other. I didn't know what to root for.
All right.
Not that they
Well,
never do that.
lot to cheer for next week. Al, good luck to your Penn State guys. I hope they do well and give you some happiness for once.
I hope they don't poop in the tub.
Yeah.
True. Until then, we're gonna drop that beat.